Okay, let's be honest. It has been 3 years since ChatGPT dropped. And, 3 years of headlines, 3 years of panic, and 3 years of that one persistent, nagging fear in the back of everyone's mind.
The robots are coming for our
The
jobs.
robots are coming for our jobs, exactly.
It's the narrative that just will not die. We've been sort of stuck in this loop of, robot apocalypse on one side versus tech utopia on the other.
It feels like a bad sci-fi movie script, doesn't it? I mean, either we're all sipping margaritas on a beach while AI does the heavy lifting, or...
Or we're fighting over scraps in a bread line while a server rack does our old job.
Right. But we have a stack of research here today, fresh from 2026, hot off the presses, that suggests both of those stories are, well, completely wrong.
They aren't just wrong. I think they're dangerously simple. The reality we're actually seeing in the data now is it's much weirder and honestly a lot more complex to navigate.
So today we are doing a deep dive into what the researchers are calling the dual transformation. We've got a synthesis of new papers here, some heavy hitters like Manning and Aguirre and Sigelman et al. And the big headline isn't that AI is swapping out humans for machines. It's that AI is doing something to the structure of work itself.
And that's the mission for this deep dive, really, to get under the hood of that mechanism. Because if you look at the data, AI is transforming jobs from the inside out. It's automating some parts of your day and supercharging others at the exact same time.
And understanding that distinction is...
It's the difference between thriving in this new economy or, frankly, getting crushed by it.
Let's unpack this dual transformation then, because on the surface, it sounds like a massive contradiction. How can something be an automaton and an assistant at the same time?
Well, it comes down to how we define the unit of analysis. See, for a long time, economists looked at jobs. They'd ask, can a robot do the job of a truck driver? Or can a robot do the job of an accountant?
And the answer was always a messy sort of.
Exactly. But these new papers, and this is especially Manning and Aguirre, they don't look at jobs. They look at tasks. They break a single job down into maybe 30 or 40 specific cognitive actions. And when you do that, you see something. Well, something fascinating.
You see the split.
You see the split. You see that AI is coming for tasks that involve judgment, analysis, or communication. That's the automation side. But here's the kicker. The tasks that AI automates are often the bottleneck tasks that prevent a human from doing higher value work.
Okay, let's ground this. Because judgment and analysis, that sounds like the stuff we used to think was safe. We used to say the robot can weld the car door, but it can't write the marketing strategy.
That was the old safety net. It's gone. AI is actually excellent at that sort of middle skill cognitive work. Summarizing a meeting, drafting a basic contract, analyzing a spreadsheet for anomalies. That is automation.
Okay.
But then there's augmentation.
Yeah.
And this is where AI handles the grunt work of a complex task, which then allows the human to do something they literally couldn't do before.
And the data shows these two forces, automation and augmentation, they're not fighting each other.
This is the core finding, and it's the number you have to remember. 0.87.
0.87. For the non-statisticians listening, that is an incredibly high correlation.
It's basically a lockstep. It means the jobs that are most exposed to having tasks taken away by AI are the exact same jobs that are most exposed to having tasks supercharged by AI.
That is just... it's completely counterintuitive. You'd think if a job is being automated, there's nothing left to augment.
Let's look at a concrete example from the research to make this stick. Take a financial analyst. 10 years ago, a junior analyst spent, 80% of their week building models in Excel, manually entering data, checking for errors.
The grunt work, the paying your dues work.
Right. So you introduce AI. The automation side takes that Excel building time down to basically zero. The AI generates the model. In the old binary view, the analyst is now
unemployed. We don't need you. The bot did it.
But look at the augmentation side. Because the model is instant, the analyst can now run 50 different scenarios in an afternoon. What if interest rates go up? What if the supply chain breaks? What if we expand to Asia? They shift from being a builder to being an architect or a stress tester.
So the job title is still financial analyst, but the actual day-to-day reality of that human has completely mutated.
Precisely. They're doing higher-level strategic thinking because they aren't bogged down in the cells of the spreadsheet. That right there is the dual transformation. The job is saved, but the job is effectively new.
It reminds me of the shift from hand-drawn animation to CGI. The animators didn't vanish, but they stopped drawing frames and started manipulating digital puppets.
That's a great analogy. But here is where the rubber meets the road. If the job changes that drastically, can the worker actually make the leap? I mean, not everyone is ready to stop being a builder and start being an architect.
And that leads us right into the second major finding, which I found honestly pretty surprising. We need to talk about who is safe. The sources introduced this metric called the Adaptive Capacity Index.
This is such a crucial concept. Manning and Aguirre realized that just looking at AI exposure, how much the AI can touch your job, is useless if you don't know how resilient the worker is. So they built this index based on 4 factors.
Let's run through them because this feels like a survival checklist for all of us.
Think of it like a survival kit for a storm. Item 1 in the kit, liquid wealth. Do you have cash in the bank? Can you afford to be unemployed for 3 months while you figure out this new workflow?
The financial buffer, check.
Item 2, skilled transferability.
Hmm.
If your job as a journalist dries up, can you become a copywriter, a PR strategist? Do your skills travel?
Right. Are you a one-trick pony or a Swiss Army knife?
Item 3 is geography. Are you in a dense labor market? If you get laid off in New York, there are 10,000 other companies. If you get laid off in a really rural area, you might be the only person who does what you do for 100 miles.
And the fourth one is age.
Which is just the harsh reality of the labor market. Are you close to retirement? Historically, older workers find it much, much harder to retrain and get rehired than younger ones.
So they mash these 4 things, money, skills, location, age, into this adaptive capacity score. And here is the plot twist. High AI exposure is actually correlated with high adaptive capacity.
The people walking into the biggest storm have the best umbrellas.
It's the white-collar paradox.
Exactly. The correlation is around 0.5. It tells us that the people whose jobs are changing the most, software developers, marketing managers, financial analysts, are arguably the best equipped to handle it.
Because they have the money, they live in cities like Seattle or Austin, and they have those transferable skills.
Precisely. A software engineer is highly exposed. AI can write code, we know this. But that engineer usually has a high salary, high savings, and lives in a tech hub. So even though the AI is shaking up their world, they have the safety net to bounce back or adapt. They can pivot.
So for the professional class, the people listening to this who are worried about their white-collar careers, the news is cautiously optimistic.
It suggests resilience. You might have to work differently, but you probably won't starve. But, and this is a massive but, this correlation hides a very dangerous bifurcation.
Here comes the other shoe.
There is a specific group of workers who are highly exposed to AI, just like the software engineers, but they have low adaptive capacity. They're walking into the storm with no umbrella.
We are not talking about a few thousand people. The data identifies 6.1 million workers in this danger zone.
6.1 million. That is roughly 4.2% of the analyzed workforce. And when you look at who these people are, it paints a very concerning, very human picture.
We're not talking about the tech bros in Silicon Valley anymore.
No. We are talking primarily about clerical and administrative roles. Secretaries, office clerks, bookkeepers, claims processors. Think about the person who runs the front office of a university department.
Right.
Or the person handling billing at a mid-sized logistics company.
The people who keep the lights on and the files moving.
Exactly. And their tasks, scheduling, document prep, basic information management are the exact tasks LLMs are perfect at. So their exposure is sky high. But unlike the software engineer, they don't have the buffer.
This was the stat that, just stop me cold. The data shows their median liquid wealth is between $4,000 and $15,000.
$4,000. Just think about that. That is maybe 1 month of expenses for a family. If that job disrupts, they don't have 6 months to upskill or pivot.
They're in immediate crisis.
Immediately.
Yeah.
And there's a demographic element here that we just have to acknowledge. This isn't a random sampling of the population.
Yeah, it's very specific.
It is. These high vulnerability roles are disproportionately older, often 55 plus, and they are overwhelmingly female. The data shows high vulnerability jobs are over 81% female.
So while the headlines are all about, will the coders lose their jobs, the real crisis is silently pointing toward older women in administrative roles who have been the backbone of these offices for decades.
And look at the geography. You might think, oh, this is a big city problem. But the highest concentration of these vulnerable workers is in college towns and state capitals in the Mountain West and Midwest.
Places like Madison, Wisconsin, or Boise, Idaho.
Exactly. Places where the biggest employer is a university or a state government. These are huge bureaucracies that run on armies of admin staff. If those institutions start automating aggressively to save money, Those local economies are going to take a massive hit that the tech hubs won't feel.
That is a crucial reframing. We need to stop worrying about the robots coming for the coders and start worrying about the algorithms coming for the administrators.
Right.
I want to pivot now to what happens inside the organizations. Because even if you keep your job, the way you're valued is changing. The sources mention something called the Robin Hood effect, which, sounds nice, but I have a feeling it's complicated.
It's a fascinating piece of economic behavior. There was a major study on customer service agents. When they introduced AI assistants, overall productivity went up about 15%. Good news, right?
Sounds like a win.
But when you break it down, the gains were totally lopsided. The lowest skilled workers, the rookies, the people struggling, saw a massive 30% gain in productivity. The AI acted like a crutch. It gave them the answers, the scripts, the best practices they hadn't learned yet.
So it leveled the playing field. It brought them up to speed instantly.
But the high-skilled workers,
Yeah.
the veterans, they saw almost no gain. In fact, in some cases, their quality even dipped a little because the AI was distracting or giving them generic advice they already knew.
So it compresses the performance gap. The bottle shoots up to the middle, and the top stays flat.
We call it performance compression. And this raises a huge, uncomfortable question for anyone who considers themselves an expert.
I can see where this is going. If I'm a senior employee with 20 years of experience, and the new hire with the AI tool is suddenly performing, say, 95% as well as I am.
Why are you paid double?
Ouch.
That is the conversation happening in HR departments right now. If the premium on human expertise shrinks because the tool makes everyone good enough, then the wages for experts might stagnate. The Robin Hood effect steals the leverage from the rich, the experts, and gives it to the poor, the novices.
That leads to the question of how we use these tools, because the research from Handa et al. Found there are two ways people actually interact with these bots, and one is much better than the other.
They analyzed millions of conversations and found two modes. Mode 1 is augmentation mode. This is the good stuff. It happens about half the time. It's iterative. It's a dialogue. The human asks a question. The AI answers. The human pushes back, refines, edits.
It's like jamming with a musician. You're riffing off each other.
Exactly. The human is still the thought partner. But then there's mode 2, automation mode, or what the researchers call God mode.
God mode sounds powerful, but I'm guessing it's actually just lazy.
It's passive. The human gives a prompt. Write this email, summarize this report, and just steps back. Minimal involvement. They take the output and ship it.
So do my homework for me.
And the danger is, if organizations push everyone into God mode just to save time, you lose that critical thinking edge. You get a workforce that is just rubber stamping machine output. And if you do that, you aren't augmenting your staff, you're just slowing down the automation process.
Okay, so we've established the landscape. The job isn't disappearing, it's mutating. We know who is safe, the resilient professionals, and who is in the danger zone, the admin staff without a safety net. And we know it's compressing performance.
That's a lot to take in.
It is. So let's get practical. If I am a manager listening to this, or just a worker trying to not get compressed, what is the playbook? Because the sources are very clear that the old advice of just learn to code is dead.
Learn to code is probably the worst advice you could give right now. Considering AI writes code better than most juniors, no, we need evidence-based responses.
The first strategy in the text is transparent communication, which, frankly, usually sounds like corporate buzzword bingo. Let's be transparent. But they mean something specific here.
They do. They mean you have to kill the uncertainty. The research shows that the fear of, is this bot replacing me, destroys productivity faster than the actual technology.
So how do you fix that?
You use the radiologist analogy. I love this example. If you tell a team of radiologists, we bought this AI to find tumors, they hear, we bought this AI to fire you. They will fight it. They will hide data.
But if you frame it differently.
If you say, look, the AI handles the volume, it scans the thousands of healthy lungs so you don't have to. Your job is to focus entirely on the complex, ambiguous cases where the machine is confused.
You're defining the lanes. Here's the machine's lane, here's your lane.
And you're emphasizing that the human lane is the premium lane. You aren't taking their job. You're taking the boring parts of their job.
That segues right into the second strategy. Procedural justice. Again, it's a fancy term, but break it down for us.
It's simple human psychology. Think about it like rearranging the furniture in your house.
Okay.
If you come home and someone has moved your couch and your TV without asking, you're going to be furious. Even if the new layout is better, you hate it because it was done to you.
But if they ask me first?
If they say, hey, we need to move the couch, where do you think it should go?
Right.
that you own the change.
Yeah.
That is procedural justice. Don't just drop the AI tool on the team on a Monday morning. Let the workers pilot it. Let them decide where the human in the loop stays.
Nothing about us without us.
Exactly. If the workers help design the workflow, they won't sabotage the workflow.
Strategy number 3 is work redesign. And this is where we get to the case manager model. This was my favorite part of the research because it shows a path forward for those people in the danger zone.
Right. Let's go back to that claims processor we talked about. High turnover, boring work, checking boxes on insurance forms.
In the old model, you automate the checking and you fire the human.
But in the dual transformation model, you look at that human and you say, okay, you don't need to check boxes anymore. The AI does that. We're going to turn you into an AI-assisted case manager.
What does the case manager do that the processor didn't?
They handle the exceptions. They call the angry client whose claim was rejected and explain why. They investigate the fraud that the AI flagged as suspicious. They become a detective and a diplomat.
You've turned a data entry job into a problem-solving job.
And you probably have to pay them more. But you're getting way more value. You have to actually rewrite the job description, though. You can't just expect it to happen by magic.
Finally, strategy number 4, role-specific training. The sources are pretty brutal about generic AI literacy courses.
Oh, they hate them. Sending your whole company to a, intro to generative AI seminar is largely a waste of time and money.
Why? I mean, isn't knowing the basics good?
It's too abstract. A strategy consultant needs to use AI completely differently than a graphic designer, who needs it differently than a supply chain manager.
So no one size fits all.
No. It needs to be just in time and context specific. Teach the consultant how to use AI for market research specifically. Don't teach them how LLMs work under the hood. Teach them how to use the tool to do their specific tasks on Tuesday morning.
Context is king.
Always.
So as we zoom out and look at this entire picture, it feels like we are moving away from the old idea of occupational mobility. We aren't going to take 6 million administrative assistants and turn them into nurses or solar panel installers overnight.
That was the old fantasy. Retrain the coal miners to code. It never really worked. We are moving toward continuous skill adaptation. You aren't changing your job title. You are constantly learning new ways to do the same job.
It's the Red Queen effect from Alice in Wonderland. You have to run faster just to stay in the same place.
In a way, yes. And we have to circle back to that warning. While the professionals with the high adaptive capacity are running faster, there are 6.1 million workers who don't have the running shoes. They don't have the safety net. We need to be very careful that we don't leave that demographic behind while we celebrate the productivity gains.
That is the real danger. It's not mass unemployment for everyone. It's a targeted crisis for the most vulnerable.
Exactly. And I want to leave the listener with one final, maybe slightly provocative thought. It's about professional identity.
Go on.
For centuries, we have derived our meaning from doing the hard parts of our jobs. The doctor feels like an expert because they made the difficult diagnosis that no one else could see. The teacher feels valuable because they graded the paper and found the insight.
Right. That struggle is where the expertise lives. It's the 10,000 hours rule.
But if the AI does the diagnosis, if the AI grades the paper, even if the human is still in the loop, where do we derive our sense of meaning? If the machine does the technical heavy lifting, we have to redefine what it means to be an expert.
Is expertise just curating the machine? Being the best prompt writer?
That is an identity crisis we haven't even begun to grapple with. If the hard part becomes the easy part, what is the value of the human? I think the answer lies in the human connection, the empathy, the judgment. But it's going to be a painful transition for people who built their ego on being the smartest person in the room.
That is a lot to chew on. It's not just an economic shift, it's a psychological one.
It is. It's going to change how we see ourselves.
Well, on that note, seriously though, this is the challenge for the next decade. So look at your own to-do list today. Ask yourself, which of these tasks is being automated and which is being augmented? Because the answer to that question isn't just about efficiency, it's about your future.
Absolutely.
Thanks for diving in with us. We'll catch you on the next one.